a little bit of a hiccup there. I hit the wrong button for a moment. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 30 of McRae Live. It is, Friday, March 13th, 2020. It is 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. Today, I have a guest on the show who I've been wanting to get on for quite some time. I am excited to have him on. It is Cody Leach from the YouTube channel Cody Leach. And we're going to be talking Halloween. We're going to be talking his YouTube journey. We're going to be talking horror movies. We're going to be talking all sorts of fun stuff here on the show today. And of course, we do encourage your questions, your super chats, your nude photos. If you want to send them, by all means, send them in. Are you serious, McRae? No, I'm not serious. I am not serious. But you know him, you love him, you want to be him. He's serious. That's right. That's right. He's definitely serious. Cody Leach, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm glad to be here. Been looking forward to doing something with you for a while. And I'm very happy to be off of work to be able to do it. The stars
yes,
align. You're like, hey, you want to be on? And I'm like,
yes,
I'm off. So yes, I do want to be on.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so yeah, no, and that's great, because when I reached out to you a couple of days ago, I was like, hey man, I know you work throughout the day, and here's and you're like, well, I got this Friday off, and I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So, okay. So let's start here. I mean, we've talked a couple of times, chatted back and forth a few times on social media, and of course, doing the Hallow streams and Twitter and things like that. But I only know you sort of from what I see on your videos, and I'm a big fan of your channel. I try to watch it as often as I can, because I made a post. And I've done this a couple of times on Twitter. I usually do it probably once a year because, you gain new followers and subs. And I like to do this, not to ask kiss. I do this because I sincerely want people to know how much work goes into putting together a YouTube channel such as yours. And especially when, you're working a 9-to-5 job, you got a wife, you got kids, you're doing the dad thing, you're doing the husband thing, and it's so I make a tweet once a year, and I did it a couple of months ago where I tagged, you and, everybody in it, saying, my hat goes off to you guys for consistently dishing out the content that you do. And I sincerely mean that because, listen, I do most of my work from my home studio. My commute is from the bedroom to the basement. And that's, and I find it difficult to do this, right? To keep that up, the consistency and the passion and the motivation. And I can only imagine what that must be like. I mean, even Mike over at Wham, I mean, he's got 2 kids, he's got a wife, he's got, I mean, how do you, well, first we'll get to that. But that's, I wanted to bring you on because, I just think that the seeing the quality of the content that you put out and the effort that you put into the little skits at the beginning and this and that and the end is just, it never ceases to amaze me. I mean, it really is a lot of hard work, and you've got to have people in your life that are really supportive and understand that, hey, sweetheart, I'm going to be up till 2 a.m. tonight because I got to get this done, so anyway, am I right or am I right on that? I mean, it's just
no, you're dead on, man. I appreciate it very much. Just last night, I mean, it's a perfect example. I've got today I'm releasing my long-awaited Friday the 13th kill ranking, which I've kind of retitled as the Slay List. So 181 kills from the Friday the 13th franchise, splicing out the clips of all of those and choosing which ones I want to do commentary on, and then just doing the regular old video editing thing and swapping them around. I mean, it's been a video that I've had to work on at least 2-3 hours a night for the past 2 weeks. And last night, it was cut down to crunch time. And even with all my prep work, I'm like, I got to get this done tomorrow. So just like you said, hey, you coming to bed? And I'm like, not for a while. So it was about 2 a.m. before I finally just passed out on the keyboard, and there was a bunch of A's just going across the.
Oh yeah, yeah. And my first sort of experience with that is back when, of course, we were leading up to Halloween 2018, and of course, I was covering like everything. You know what I mean? He stubbed his toe. Got to do a video. I mean, it was just and now I'm just kind of like I'm not fucking doing a video on that. So, but yeah, there was. I mean, and I'd be up to like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, fuck, if I'm up this late and, I mean, okay, maybe I have a VO session at, 9 a.m., but it's right back in here. So, I mean, I can just go up to bed, come down. It's not, I mean, it's still kind of, but it's not, I don't have to drive and get, you know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal. I can only, if I'm up, I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, what are they, you get up, your alarm, I gotta go to work. It's just crazy. So, I just want people to know that you guys see the end result of what Cody does and what I do and what Champagne does or Drum Dums or Cecil Laird or whatever the case is, whoever you are, putting out that consistent content is a difficult thing to do, and it takes a lot of hard work. Okay, so let's start. I mean, let's go back, man. I mean, where, what were you, I mean, why, how, who, what, when, where, why? Like, how did the Cody Leach YouTube channel start, man? Take me back to little Cody.
To little Cody. Well, I've always been a movie fanatic. I've always been the guy that just annoys everybody around them talking about movies. I used to get a lot of sighs in elementary school because a teacher would talk a lesson or something, and I'm like, oh, there was a movie that did that. And so I was that guy. And this was the channel that you see now is actually like my third version of this channel. I had a kind of a false start back in like 2008, 2009, whenever I had dropped out of college and I was at home trying to find myself, basically. And this is when Jeremy Johns and Stuckman and everybody started coming up, and I'm like, whoa, there's this thing here where people are talking movies. And I had a laptop with a little bullshit webcam that had horrible video, and I'm like, I could do this. So I had maybe 5 videos of me just terrible, just sitting there, just being like, oh yeah, this, this Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and this was cool, and this wasn't. And I would probably cringe so bad if I watched them, but that was something I did for like a month or so, and then life got in the way, and I started working. And then somewhere around, we'll say 2013, 2014, I had a channel for a while where I was doing acoustic vocal covers of songs, just as kind of like a little hobby thing. Wasn't really promoting it, just as something to kind of break out of my shell a bit. And then met Holly. She had 2 kids before I even met her, so it was like instant dad. Life took over again, and I was like, that YouTube thing, forget that. And then I found myself in about 2016 or so. My job previous to the one that I have now was construction testing. So I would go out and I would have to test concrete if they were pouring it. I would have to look at rebar if they were getting ready to do something. Eventually started doing more environmental stuff where I would have to go out into the middle of the woods and the swamps where they were planning on putting a building, and have to do testing out there when there's nothing. And I would have, these would be, 2-3 hours away sometimes. So I would have every day anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours of just driving. And I love my music, Dave, but after a while, music gets old. So I started listening to podcasts and stuff. I started looking at, AMC Movie Talk when it was that, and then it moved into Collider. I started listening to like Double Toasted, a bunch of other stuff, just something different to listen to. And I found myself yelling at my car. They'd say something like, oh, I think this is the best way. And I'm like, are you kidding me? No, that's not how we do that. And then
right.
I'm like, I need to do this. So summer 2016, I did my own little podcast. I bought a little microphone, and I just, every weekend I would go in my walk-in closet and just kind of sit Indian style and record a couple shows. And I quickly found myself just wanting to break out of that. I'm like, this is fun, but I just want to do something else.
Sure.
But I was intimidated with the video editing. I had never done it before. I didn't know how good I was going to be. I didn't know how expensive it was going to be. And I just kind of bit the bullet.
It's a bit of a learning curve, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so. Luckily, we live in the time of Google, where any question, you can literally just type it in. How do I do this? And then there's like 85 videos on how to do it.
Exactly.
So the first weekend that I recorded a review, it was for Sausage Party, believe it or not. Very funny way to start the Cody Leach
still never
journey.
See that movie, but it looked funny.
There was moments.
There was moments, okay.
But I did my little review, and I basically locked myself in my room all that Saturday trying to figure out how the fuck you do Premiere. And I'm like, and there was just 9 different versions of the video. I had one that was like 360p that came out bad, and I worked out all the bugs and started my channel that weekend, and it's hilarious when you first start YouTube because you're like, you know, you put your video up and then like every 3 minutes you're like refresh and you're like, I got a view.
That's right. Now you put it up, you walk away for a week and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, I mean, I've changed a lot since then, but as far as how the channel got started, that's pretty much this long journey that it took to get to where it got some momentum.
That's very cool. And do you still have like those original videos from 2016 still up on your channel? I could imagine you do.
I do. I have every video from Sausage Party all the way up to today still on my channel, and I have there's no video to it, but I have YouTube video versions of all of the podcasts that I used to do on the channel as well. You have to go digging, you have to go all the way back, but they're there.
Right. Cool. So I mean, you've just crossed 40,000 subs, which is fantastic. I think you have anyway. I think you're somewhere around there, and which is amazing. And you know, has there been anything that has surprised you, either good or bad, that I kind of already know the answer to this probably, but is there anything that has sort of, that has surprised you or that continues to surprise you, either good or bad, or about sort of, you know, doing what you do? Do you feel more comfortable now than you did? I mean, I imagine you do. You know, you sort of found your own, you know, in a bit of your rhythm. But what sort of, you know, what has surprised you about doing this?
The surprising part is really just how YouTube works as a whole. Like I knew I was going to have some people that I really enjoyed having in the comment section and made friends along the way. And I knew there was going to be some jackasses that were going to try to like ruin your life with a comment, and it's whatever. So I expected all of that. I knew that there was going to be hard work, but the unexpected thing was just all of the red tape you got to get through with YouTube, where you can't say certain words or you get demonetized. And you know, if you use a certain, you see some channels that'll use basically the entirety of a movie and make a lot of money, but you use a 7-second clip and get, you know, a copyright claim or something. And a lot of those, like trying to figure out how to work with the algorithm of YouTube, like how to title your videos, how to use tags, how to do things to grab people's attention, how to keep their attention, which is even harder. So they're just kind of figuring out the science of it all, which for a science, it's just chaos. You know what I mean? There's rules, but at the same time, it's whatever. You could throw a video, and I'm sure you have some too, where you'll put hours of time into it and so much effort, and you're like, this is going to be it.
Oh
you
yeah,
put it in there, and it's like 300 views. And,
I totally agree. Well, funny enough, the video that I posted last night, actually, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. See, I don't know if I accidentally, because what happened is that I it's Friday the 13th today, everybody, by the way, happy Friday the 13th. So late last night, I put together and that's right. That me dancing to Man in the Mask was all, you know, put together in about 25 minutes. Well, maybe not that short, maybe about an hour. But I uploaded it, but it was unlisted, you know, kind of getting ready to post it after midnight. And then as I'm doing my dishes last night, this is like 11 o'clock at night, I realized, oh shit, it's been uploaded on the 12th. So even though I'm going to make it go live after midnight, it'll still say that it was uploaded on the 12th, which totally kind of ruins the fun of it. So I went in, I deleted it, and then after midnight, I uploaded it again. It's only like a minute long, you know, video, so it takes like 8 seconds to upload, and so it's not a big deal. But I don't know if that threw things off. And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking people are gonna let this is so. I'm laughing at myself, right? You know, which is the worst thing in the world. You're like, this is gonna be great. This morning I wake up, it's got like 500 views, and I'm like, what? It's Friday the 13th. Click on the damn video, you son of a bitch!
Yep.
You know, I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell? It's me dancing to the Man in the Mask. What the hell is wrong with you? This is gold, Jerry. It's gold. Anyway, no, but you're right. I mean, sometimes, you know, and then there's some videos where you think, whatever, and it gets like you know 25,000 views, and you're like,
which is almost more frustrating because you're like, how? What did I do? Because I did when the Child's Play remake came out last summer, I had like a whole week, basically a whole month of videos that I had planned, different different rankings, and I was ranking the dolls, I was ranking the movies, I was ranking the ways that Chucky died, and I by the end of it, I was so tired and I was so like exhausted with Chucky. As much as I love him, I was like, oh my God, I did this. I was going to do top Chucky lines, and I was going to do it like I do the kill ranking, where I have commentary and then I have the line and I have commentary. And I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to do clips. I'm going to introduce it and I'm going to have my thing at the end. I'm done. I'm tired. And I put that thing up, and to date, it is my second highest viewed video at 122,000 views. And it's literally me saying, hey guys, these are my favorite Chucky lines. And then it's clips of Chucky, and then subscribe to my channel. Bye, bitches. And it was like, oh my God, that took nothing. I was nothing.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's funny when that happens, because there's been some where I'm like, oh, this is good. Yes, but it goes to show you, right, what some people come to you for, or what some people, because I mean, anything Halloween, like, I mean, as I'm sure I mean, I can get on here and I can have I can talk. If I upload a video on Halloween, it's guaranteed like 5,000 views in the first day. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? And then, but if I start talking about, I don't know, Child's Play or something, it'll have 5,000, within the first, 6 months, and it's like, where are these people? What's the people? People are just Halloween crazy, Cody. They're insane. They're insane for every little bit. It's unbelievable. Okay. So that's cool. I mean, that's interesting to note. One of the things I've always really liked about you is your, because, we share a similar sort of, approach to the whole, I just really don't give a shit. I just, I really don't care. Here's what I have to say. You either agree with me, or you don't. Now, you were doing this for a few years before I came along, and it was I had my channel since 2006, but I was just uploading little Halloween things, and I wasn't putting my face out there. And it was my girlfriend that said, you really should be, you got to get up to talk about it. So I went and did that, and then of course the rest is history. But one of the reasons why I, from the very beginning, and I've been accused, how it is. I've been accused of everything from being an egotistical, self-centered, pompous, whatever the case. I mean, just run down the list. I'm sure I've been, called it. But one of the reasons why I wanted to sort of establish myself out front as somebody that says, and I say it bluntly, but I say it that way so it resonates, right? So it's for the effect. I mean, I could say it in a, but I say it blunt because I want it to kind of be, because I wanted to get ahead of the curve, and I wanted people to understand that it's okay if we don't agree, but and you're allowed to comment, of course, but I just it's not about trying to change my mind or trying to, I mean, if I make a factual mistake, that's one thing. I say Halloween 1979. Well, actually, Davis, 1978. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. But if it's my informed opinion or an emotional opinion or whatever the case is, I wanted people to know that it's okay if we don't agree. I don't care. I'm not here to, don't come to me to find out if we agree. Oh, so no, hang on. Don't come to me to have me tell you what you think. Come to me to hear what I think, and then if we agree, that's great. I think that made sense. Anyway, that's how I kind of wanted to approach my channel, because I have to be true to myself and how I feel. If I start molding my views and shaping my views and, videos, or as they say, selling out, then that's sort of, then that's being totally disingenuous to me and to the viewer. And I know that was very long-winded there. One of the things that I appreciated about your approach was you seem to be doing it the same way. You're kind of like, listen, look, is it fun when people agree with you? Sure, but at the end of the day, this is how I feel. Am I right on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just as fun if people disagree with you. It just depends on how they bring it about. If they're like, hey, like I get how you're saying this. This is actually how I view it. That's always some of the more fun conversations to have. That would be boring as shit if everybody just had the same opinion. Like, hey, did you see that movie? I thought this and this. Yeah, totally agree.
Exactly.
All right, cool. See that? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's fun. It's just the difference between having that conversation, which is the beauty of being a movie fan. And sometimes people can even change your mind a little bit or get you to see a different perspective versus just, oh, I disagree. You're a fucking idiot. And then
absolutely.
That's all you get.
Yes, exactly. And it's happened to me on a number of occasions where people will make some points. I'll be like, you know what, that's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. I never thought of it that way before. Oh, that's an interesting insight. And it's no, you're right. I think it's just so important for me is I wanted to get ahead of it because I didn't want people to waste their time, because I started to see people writing thesis of just like, and it's just like, guys, don't waste your time with that. I mean, if you have the time to write a thesis in the comments, start your own YouTube channel. I mean, do something, because I just don't care. It's not that I think you're a bad person or anything like that, but it's all about time, and in a lot of cases, depending on the videos, we get 4, 5, 6, some of my videos have over 1,000 comments, and it's very difficult to, hone in on everything. So yeah, that's cool. Cause I really appreciated your openness and your honesty, in regards to that. You strike me as somebody that says it like how you feel. You're honest in your reviews. You're honest in the things that you like you just said. You're a big fan of the Friday the 13th remake from 2009, but you're also somebody that's not afraid to say, I don't think Robert Englund should return as Freddy. Yeah. So, and tell me a bit about that, about the response you've received to both of those things.
Oh, it's awesome. Like it's nowhere near. Well, I'll build up to that. So there's always, anytime I sit down to do a video where I know my opinion is not going to be the popular one, there's always like that sigh moment. You're like, here we go. And then, but that's the fun of it. I'm like, there's never going to be a time where I'm going to walk up and I'm going to say, okay, how am I going to please the most people? What do I need to say? I'm just, whatever my response is, there's going to be people that agree. There's going to be people that don't. The scales tip depending on the video, but that's the whole, there's no point in me putting my thought out there if it's not my thought, the way that I look at it. So when you have something like that, where I'm doing a Friday the 13th review series, and all the Friday the 13th fans like, finally, yes, I love this. And I'm going through all of them. And then you see the comments in the videos were like, this one's my favorite. This one's my favorite. This one sucks shit. And you get to the 2009 remake, which I already knew before I even did the review is not the most popular of the franchise. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And I do my ranking and I'm like, guess what number 1 is? And then, but it just depends. Certain franchise, I mean, fandom in general is toxic right now. Everybody likes to say like, oh, Star Wars is the worst. Oh, this is the worst. No, it's just fandom in general. But I have had the most difficulty in the horror space with Halloween fandom. When I had my Halloween 2018 review, that was the one and only video where it was like, the pitchforks were out for a month. And when I posted that review, it kind of threw me aback because I was like, oh, man. And I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. So it wasn't even like I hated it. It wasn't like I was ranting on it. It wasn't like I loved it. There was like, this thing was really great. This thing really didn't do anything for me. But that was the one where I had the most hate comments and dislike spamming and people sharing my video around like, look at this moron. And like when I was tight with Drum Dums, he had a very positive review, so everybody would throw that back like, well, this guy's the right review, this is the wrong review. And like, you just get it from all different spectrums. And when you go through stuff like that, that's one of the more important things I would say is like when people say like, what's a good tip if you're going to start a YouTube channel? It shouldn't be this way, but one of the bigger tips is if you don't have thick skin, don't bother. Because the people will 100%. Say anything. They will dig down to the bottom of the barrel and say the most disgusting comment in the world just to try to get under your skin. And if you can't handle it, don't even bother stepping into the ring. But once you can mentally just get past it, which didn't take very long for me because I don't take comments like that very seriously from random dude on the internet beating his chest. So I'm like, whatever, dude. And I move on with my life. And
exactly. No, it's, and it shows, it shows in your, I mean, the work speaks for itself. When you watch a review of yours or when you watch a rant of yours, I mean, it's very clear that you legitimately feel this way. And look, as I've said, I mean, having people agree is always fun, but what fun would it be if we, all agreed. But I'm going to tell you how I feel. If you agree, if you agree, great. If you don't, that's okay too. I mean, it's not a big deal. But you're right in the sense that if you're doing this to get people to like you, or if you have a inherent need for for people to agree with you and for people to like you, then as you just said, and you're bang on, then don't do it, because you have to do what you do, put it out there, let the chips fall where they may. Some people are going to agree, some people are not going to agree. I mean, I was having that conversation with Cecil, of course, because getting ready for Dylan's new Nightmare, and I said to him, I said, look, Cecil, I said, there are going to be people that are going to love it. There are going to be people that are going to hate it. There are going to be people that are going to think I am fucking amazing as Freddy. There are going to be people that are going to think I am fucking shitty as Freddy. There are going to be people that go, his voice is too high. His voice is too low. His voice is not. It's gonna. All you do is you just do the best you can, and hopefully more people like it than not. But at the end of the day, it's out of your hands. You know what I mean? And that's just really it. So I really appreciate that side of you, because it's we need more people like that. Not afraid to do that. Who are some people that you watch, present company excluded? Who are some people that you watch that's in this space, like in terms of that you like? Is there anybody that you watch, whether it's like a Stuckman or whether it's, I think Collider changed their whole fucking thing now, but is there somebody that you watch that you tend to sort of see that with?
John Campea is one that I watch a lot. That I enjoy his take on things. He gets a little bit. There's times where he says things I don't agree with at all. But again, that's the beauty of it. If I detested that, I'd be a hypocrite. So there's things that he says where I'm like, oh, what the fuck ever, John. But there's other times where he takes that same approach, like this is my thought, and then he explains it very well. So I like his channel. His was kind of like the alternative to Collider. When Collider started to do their own crazy ass thing. So I was like, okay, this is more like movie talk that I grew up with. So I enjoy him quite a bit. I like the guys over at Double Toasted quite a bit. I very rarely agree with them because their reviews seem to be more about cracking jokes than actually watching the movie sometimes, if that's fair. But I just enjoy them as people. I enjoy watching them. And then for the most part, I tend to focus my energy and my views on friends of mine. So like your channel, my buddy Sean Chandler, Durbania, my buddy CP. Whenever you guys post videos, is usually the ones I'll watch first, just because for support, but also because we're friends. I'm like, all right, let's see what they got to say. But outside of that space, I'd probably say Campy and Double Toasted. I'll watch the occasional Stuckman review. I like his insight sometimes, but certain genres I really don't align with his thoughts at all, and it just ends up frustrating me. So like, especially in the horror space, he's like, horror films are my favorite, and then he trashes almost everyone that he sees. So there's times where I'm like, I don't get it, man. But I watch him on occasion. I used to watch John's back in the day. I kind of, the funny thing about Jeremy John's channel is that, and he wears it on his sleeve, it's very bare bones. You know what I mean? It's very, I'm just going to put a blank color behind me. I'm going to do my skits, my fast talking, and that's it. And I used to love that. And then when I started doing all the work that I do, I started getting frustrated. I'm like, how the fuck is he getting 1 million views? And he just turned the camera on. Like it was stuff like that. But once in a great while, I might watch him too. But the main two are Campy and Double Toasted, probably outside of our friend space. Gotcha.
It's funny you say that, because I wouldn't say that I used to watch him, but I remember, no, because I don't think that's accurate at all, because but I remember when Philip DeFranco sort of began to kind of come up onto the scene, and of course he's more, everything. I mean, he's, could talk about movies, but he could talk about politics, whatever. And that style, that fast cut, very, was interesting and new, and kind of an interesting sort of, execution on a video, and this is like 10 years ago or so. But then I find that I don't know if it's just me, but as like it's great for the shtick of it, but you can't really go in depth with videos like that.
Yeah,
exactly. And I find that I like the more in depth things. I mean, no surprise there. I mean, I never shut up about shit, but I like that in depth sort of, and they're fun for sort of micro kind of, little, like it's like, I find that, and this isn't no disrespect to either of them, because I mean, obviously, I mean, it's still a lot of hard work even to do what they do.
Absolutely.
But somebody like a Jeremy Johns, I find is his approach is he's not quite Philip DeFranco in the sense that like he's cutting after every sentence, but he still has that sort of that rhythm. Yeah. And I find that kind of video to me is very headline video. So it's just kind of like, you know, it's every sentence is like a headline, you know, and you don't kind of dive deeper into the mix of what he just said. So I find that the novelty wears off pretty fast for me, where if you watch somebody like a Campia or even a Stuckman, his videos are not as long. They're usually between 5 and 10 minutes, but he's not cutting every sentence, and he actually does. He's well thought out. You know, I have checked out his stuff, and same with yours as well. I mean, it's true. You have very good points and well thought out stuff. So what I mean, look, I mean, you cross 40,000 subs. Do you have a goal? Is there a goal? I mean, when I started my channel, like I told you before we went live, I didn't know what. I mean, I just was sort of like, you know, I mean, my day-to-day job is a voice actor. I mean, that's what I do for a living. That's my, you know, it's my job, and it still is. And so I just wanted to get on here and just kind of vent. I needed somebody to God, I have all this shit I want to talk about. I needed somebody to listen, you know, and I had no idea where it was going. And now it's kind of turned into this. For you, I mean, you've been doing this a couple years longer than I have, but do you have a goal, or are you just kind of like, oh, just is kind of taking it day by day, seeing where it goes?
A little of both, honestly. It's hard for me to be ultra goal driven where I schedule things out, and like I have a dry erase calendar that I bought to where I try to map out my month to a degree so that I can kind of keep myself accountable. Like, okay, I got to get this out by Tuesday. But my schedule is so bananas with work, you know, getting in there at 5 a.m. and if I'm lucky, I leave at 3:30. If I'm not lucky, I leave at 5:30. Come home, cook dinner, get the kids together, and then try to shoot and edit a video and not neglect anybody else. So it's and then try to sleep somewhere in between.
I just want to interrupt you there, because that goes to my point of that tweet that I made. Listen to what Cody just said there. There are times he gets up at 3:30 in the morning, maybe 5, right? He's got to get the kids ready. He's got to go to work. He comes home. He's got to cook dinner. He's got to eat. There's the normal life that people have, and then maybe if he's lucky, once the kids are in bed and you know everybody's kind of, you know, then he'll start into a video. I mean, that's a long day, dude.
It is. And pretty much the only way that I'm able to keep out the level of content that I do, which I would like to do more, is just recording a lot on the weekends. Like if I get a couple hours on Saturday, okay, I need to knock out 4 or 5 videos, and then I can just chip away at it throughout the next couple of weeks. So I kind of have to mold what I do to fit my schedule. But yeah, there's days like yesterday where it was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, working all day, coming home, doing the dad thing, and then jumping right into the Friday the 13th video until 2 a.m. So and not being done yet. I still probably have a couple hours of work to do. So it's a sacrifice. But yeah, there's goals to where the first couple of years I was on YouTube, I made goals for myself, and I far exceeded every single time, where I was like, okay, I want to try to get 1,000 subscribers, and I ended up with 5 by the end of the year. And then that seemed like unachievable when you're at 200-300 subscribers. And then I was like, okay, this year I want to try to get 10,000 subscribers, and I ended up with and then last year I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get 100,000, and I ended up with like, you know, where I'm at now. I'm like, okay, all right, pump the brakes. Maybe 100K. Oh, okay. Yep, I can see you. I can hear you. Let us know in the chat as soon as everything's normal. And we're back. Okay. Thank you, Hans Gruber.
Oh, wait. There we go. Now you can hear me. Let's keep this going, and hopefully everything will be okay. All right, continue, awesome. Cody.
So yeah, so I do have goals that I set for myself, but I'm also kind of loose on those goals. I use it as a motivator, but I understand that everything's chaos on YouTube. You can have awesome months, you can have absolutely shitty months, and I have no rhyme or reason why it's that way. So like where I'm at 40 right now, by the end of the year, I would be extremely happy if I was at 70.
Right.
100K is like the next milestone, obviously, whenever you get the plaque and everything like that. So then after that, then it's like, okay, I'm definitely onto something now. And the more subscribers you get, the little bit more momentum you get. So it gets a little bit easier sometimes. But yeah, that's, I have long-term goals, but I also fly by the seat of my pants every single month, where I'm like, okay, I need to do this and this. And then I see a trailer for Spiral. I'm like, well, fuck, now I got to throw a Saw review series in here somewhere.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It's so cool to learn about everybody, because when I had Mike and Jay on here from Wham, it was really cool to learn about their journey and where they come up with and how they came up with the skull and how their name was just, you think there's this really cool, we just you know what I mean? And it's just so neat to learn about everybody's journey. And you're right. I mean, you crossed 40,000. Do you think 70,000 is a realistic goal by the end of the year? That's an extra 30,000. Do you think that is something that is achievable based on sort of what you've been seeing in terms of your ebb and flow on your channel?
If the YouTube algorithm is my friend this year, then yes, I think it's very achievable. I had a very rough back half of last year and a very rough start to this year, but it's starting to pick back up. Like last October, because it's Halloween time, it's always, that's almost like the holiday season for channels like ours. So I've kind of pushed myself to do just about a video a day. Sometimes I had 2, sometimes I had 3. So I was just trying to maximize October. And YouTube was like, no. Right. And so all that hard work, I probably gained maybe, 2,000-3,000 subscribers when I was aiming to gain like 15 that month.
Right.
So, but this year I've got a lot. We got Saw coming out. That review series is doing very well for me so far. I'm going to finish up my, my Romero zombie films that I couldn't finish last October, which should do pretty well. Yep. I don't know when, but we got A Quiet Place coming out. That's true. And I was going to review the first movie because I missed that last year. We also have Halloween coming this year, so there's going to be a lot of Halloween talk by the end of the year, I'm sure. So we've got some nice setups this year, I think, for where we can ride some good waves on for movie review. And I'm also doing a Christopher Nolan review series before his new one. So I've got plans in place to try to do some very cool things I think everybody will enjoy. So as long as the YouTube algorithm's along for the ride, I think it'll be a good year. Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, it's so, I just have so many thoughts going through my head because it's so neat to, like I said, discover more about everybody and their journey and sort of where it's going and whatnot. And of course, you also have something on your channel. Tell me more about this. This is it took me a bit to because I actually had to hear you say it in order for me to go, oh, that's how you say it. The Autop stream, is that what it is? Because Autop stream, because when I first saw it, I was like, Autop stream? I was like, is this what
funny enough, I said the same thing. That name was actually created by my buddy Woody Bowen. He's the one that does all the designs for my shirts and everything. He's a really good friend, and we were really struggling to try to find a name that all 4 of us agreed on. We'd have 2 of us that loved it, 2 of us that hated it. We'd have 3 of us that loved it, 1 of us that was passionately against it.
Yes.
And we had Autop stream wasn't even one that we all kind of agreed on, but by then we were just like, fuck it. Most of us like it. But I said the same thing when I first saw it. I was like, the design for it was different when he first sent it to me. It had some film reels that looked like wheels. So I thought auto because of the wheels. I said the same. I'm like, auto Easter. Next. And then we tooled it from there and leaned into the autopsy thing, and it rolled a lot better off the tongue, I think.
So Autop is short for autopsy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's not Autop, because when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool. So, they're doing a little, like a show. Okay, cool. I'm like, Autop stream. I'm like, I gotta ask Cody about this because Autop stream? Am I saying that right? And then I heard you say it. Hey, folks, welcome to Autop stream, and I'm like, Autop stream. I gotta ask him about this. What is that? So it's short for autopsy. Okay, cool. And you guys have done a few episodes now.
Yeah, we've done like 6 or 7. Not as much as we would want to, but it's very hard for the 4 of us, really. But Lindsay, unfortunately, has the a very hard schedule, so she's only been able to join us for I think one show. But the
Right,
three that normally do it, me, Brian, and CP, have very different schedules. To where CP is much more of a night owl person, where I think he works during the day and is up most of the night. And I have my crazy ass schedule. Brian is like 7 hours ahead of us, so anything we try to do with him, it's like, all right, man, it's like 5 p.m. He's like, well, it's like 3 in the morning here, and I'm like, oh fuck, all right.
Very cool. And that, of course, is Brian Lomax. Am I saying that right? I think it's
yes.
Brian Lomax and CP from, is it Will Screedia? Will Screedia? Saying that right? Yeah. And you guys do that show, and Autop Stream, short for Autopsy, folks. So there you go. If you've ever wondered what Autop stands for in Autop Stream, we have found out. We've cracked the code. It is Autopsy.
Yes,
Autopsy.
Where we dissect everything in the world of movies.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. All right. Well, this is cool, man. This is cool. Hey, let's you want to take some questions from the viewers and talk some horror and maybe Halloween. Let's talk Halloween. Oh, fuck. Here it comes.
I noticed Cody hasn't been talking Halloween lately. I'm sure he has a good reason. I do.
Hey, you know what? Even me, the gatekeeper of Halloween purism is I get, there are times where I'm like, I'm so sick of talking about Halloween, man. Yep. I'm just like, I will talk about something else other than Halloween. But you know what? We will talk about it if you want to talk about it. But let's not forget, Cody is a child's play expert. You got some child's play questions you want to throw it his way. I mean, Don Mancini's got that sci-fi. Well, here's something I want to ask you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Here's something I want to ask you now. Child's Play, the remake from last year, I actually enjoyed. I didn't think it was, amazing or anything like that, but I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be. Now, it didn't do very well at the box office. There's a number of factors for that. One being, of course, it's up against the juggernaut Toy Story 4, although it's counter-programming. So I think even if Toy Story 4 hadn't been there, because it's not like Child's Play had a bump in the box office the next weekend. I mean, I just don't think the demand was there. But do you think there's anything more they can do with this version of Child's Play, or do you think it's kind of, that was an interesting experiment, it's one and done and that's it?
I think there's plenty that they can do with it. I think a lot of the reason that it didn't do well too is like this Don Mancini loyalism thing that was going on, to where if you're a Child's Play fan, you can't support this movie. And I'm like, fuck you. Yeah. And so that was that whole thing going on too. I don't know how big of a bite that took, but I imagine most people that would go to see a Child's Play remake are Child's Play fans. So it had to take a chunk, but I think there's plenty they can do with it. I think that if the first thing they have to do is fix the design of the doll. That was the main thing that I walked out with. I was like, oh, like you were worried about it when you saw stills. You were worried about it when you saw the trailer, and you watched the movie, and I'm like, fuck, yep, it doesn't look very good. But I really enjoyed the movie too. It has its flaws, but I thought that it did enough different with the concept, but while holding on to kind of the heart of Child's Play. I appreciated the different version of Chucky, and I think that there's ways that they can expand this version of Chucky to where he's a little bit more maniacal now. This is kind of like his origins, right? So I think they could do that very easily. Have Andy be a little bit older. You also have that kind of that emotional strain there, where there actually was a love and a friendship there. It wasn't just like he was being manipulated from the beginning, like the original. So there's things you can do there with that relationship that I think could easily be a second film. I think they made enough to merit it. I don't know if they will or not yet. I'll be excited when they do announce it. And I'll be upset if they say, no, that's it. It's one and done. But I think that there's potential to do more.
Do you have any confidence whatsoever in Don Mancini's sci-fi? I mean, I'm just like, isn't this already tapped out? I mean, what are we doing?
I don't know enough about it yet to make a fair judgment.
Right.
But if all that I know about it is, it's going to TV on the Sci-Fi Channel and Don Mancini's in charge of it, that doesn't give me any confidence. Like I've said it before, nothing but respect to Don Mancini, because he gave us everything that we love, or for most of what we love about the Chucky franchise. You got to give Tom Holland credit too, but he's been there through all the movies that I love. But to me, the franchise took a large dip when he took full creative control. I really enjoy Curse of Chucky, but that's like a little spike, and then you go right back down into Cult, which I didn't enjoy at all. So I have no reason to give him my confidence. I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope I turn it on and I'm like, this is awesome. There's no reason not to hope for that. So Until I know more, until I know what the story is going to be, until I know who's involved, until I know where in the hell in the timeline this fits, because every answer he's given is very confusing and vague and weird. And, they're like, hey, is Glenn and Glenda going to come back? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And I'm like, no, do not entertain that shit. Yes or no? So yeah, I really don't know. Being on the Sci-Fi Channel, being a TV series, the track record of rated R films going to a TV series don't bode very well. I think Hannibal is maybe one of the few that I've genuinely enjoyed. So yeah, my confidence level is low until I know more.
Gotcha. Super chat from Luis Nunez says, why did you leave Hallowstream, Cody? Well, that's part of an area that we discussed earlier that we weren't going to discuss on the show today. I know people want to ask all the drama questions and all that kind of jazz, but that's an area we want to keep focused on movies today and that kind of thing. So I appreciate your donation, Lewis, but yes, thank you very much for that. Let's see. Gary Rangel says, why do you guys what do you guys think of Scream 5 being directed by Ready or Not directors? Why didn't we get a 5th film sooner? We had to wait another 10 years. A couple questions in there. Cody, what do you think of this announcement with Scream 5?
Well, we didn't get one sooner because Wes Craven passed away. So that's the main thing. But
and they took it to TV.
Yeah, and we had the TV series, which I still haven't seen. I've heard mixed things. But I like the directors. I was a big fan of Ready or Not. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think that tone works well for Scream. But to me, I said this yesterday in a movie group that I'm in, Movies That Move Me, when somebody posted it. I said, I think the writers of Scream is more important than the directors of Scream at this point.
Correct.
If you're not going to have Kevin Williamson, then I want to know who's doing it, because the one film in the franchise that everybody agrees is the worst is the only one that he hasn't written. So, I mean, and that was directed by Wes Craven. So to me, I think when you have a movie that's meta and is trying to be witty and trying to be clever, I think the writing is much more important than who's directing it at this point.
Yep, I agree with that. I'm skeptical. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I mean, obviously, Ready or Not was Ready or Not. Was that the one about the one that took place in the big house and
it's hide and seek and
hide and seek. Yeah. That actually that was shot here in Toronto. That big sort of house is a house. It's like a castle, really. It's called Casa Loma, and it's actually very close to where the Black Christmas house is. Okay. A friend of mine who I went to high school with, Melanie Scrofano, who plays the lead character Winona Earp in the sci-fi series. She was in Ready or Not. She's the not the lead, but one of her sister-in-law, I guess. One of the batshit crazy ladies who are
the
part
one that
of
accidentally shoots like 5 different people.
Yes. I think that's her. Melanie, if you're watching, rock on. I hope you didn't kill anybody. So I mean, it was I mean, okay, cool. But like you said, I mean, the writing is really what's really important. And and Kevin Williamson, is supposedly coming back. Okay. But I don't know. I feel sort of like, and it's not that there isn't more to explore, but I've said this before on my channel, and I'll get your thoughts. The identity of Scream is based around a very specific shtick.
Yeah.
And that shtick, and I know people are going to say, but Dave, you just want everything to be a one-off movie. It's like, well, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's just, but with Scream, once you know how the trick is done, and once the cat is sort of out of the bag, the novelty, it's not that it's not fun to watch. It's not that I didn't enjoy Scream 2. But the novelty sort of begins to wear off very fast for me. Mm-hmm. And I, because it's so reliant on a very specific, it's not a spoof, it's spoofy, it's very self-aware, and now what they have to do is they have to bring Scream, I mean, it's hard to believe that we're almost 10 years from, part 4. I mean, it's crazy to think. So much happened between 3 and 4 in terms of society and pop culture and technology. I mean, in part 3, there was no such thing as a smartphone. In part 4, there is. I mean, now it's streaming and all these kinds of things. I don't know. I just kind of feel like if it is going to start utilizing because they're going to want to appeal to a certain demographic. They're going to want to sort of make it modern, I would assume. And I get it. I understand it. But then is it Scream? Like I mean, it is. I guess it would be because it's constantly evolving. But I don't know. I just sort of feel like, you know, what is it going to be? Because as one of the things that Bruce and I, when we were tackling how to crack the story of It's Me, Billy, was, well, you know, everybody's got, you know, a smartphone and nobody I mean, very rarely do people pick up their phone if you see it's an unknown number, right? I mean, how often are we really talking on our phones now? Hardly ever. They're not phones. They're pocket computers that just happen to make phone calls if we have to at some weird, odd time because we need an Uber or something. But now you don't even need to do that. You know what I mean? So I just kind of feel like, are people going to be picking up their phone? Like, is it really phone related in a new Scream? Is it going to be utilizing newer technology, like kind of what Child's Play was trying to do? I like Scream, I do, but I'm very skeptical on sort of what is this going to be in 2020 or 2021? How do you feel about that? Like, how do you see that?
I don't know. The hard thing about it is that Scream has, when the first couple of them was just kind of playing off the nostalgia of 80s slashers, right? And then you had the fourth one, which to me was my second favorite of the bunch because it kind of breathed a little new life into it. It was kind of tackling the whole remake craze, and it was kind of playing into that, and it was really clever script-wise that I think.
It was.
And then you get to now, and what trend in horror are we going to spoof? You know what I mean? Where it's more... Horror right now is kind of shifting more paranormal, a little bit more artistic. You get stuff like, you know, Midsummer and Hereditary that's kind of blowing up the horror spheres now. So it's what are we going to joke about? What are we going to talk about? Are we just going to go straight up 80s slashers and try to recreate the magic of the first couple films? Or are we going to
That's actually a really, really good point. And something I want to piggyback on there is, what worries me. See, as I just mentioned, Scream was always spoofy, like it had a bit of that to it. It was very self-aware, but it was but it had that serious narrative underneath. Yeah. It wasn't scary movie spoof, right? Yeah. Where it's like Airplane, right? Like, I mean, it's not that level of spoof, but it was always, as you mentioned, sort of poking fun in a satirical sense at the horror genre in the current pop culture sort of state. And now, you know, you don't want to go too far because then does it become too spoofy? You know, does it become too self-aware? You know, because then you're looking for things to poke fun at does Scream become supernatural? You know, do they add that element? Like, that's what kind of worries me, is that we start to lose sort of the identity of Scream.
I think the safest way probably is that if you're going to make one now, if there's no major trend between now and the time that they're putting it out, is to try to just go straight slasher with it. But my biggest caveat is like, okay, you need to kill some of the original cast because it's getting ridiculous at this point. Like if I was directing it, like, and it might be one of those, you know, Terminator Dark Fate situations where I bite myself in the ass with it. But I would open it up killing Courtney Cox and David Arquette. I would open up with that and be like, we're not fucking around this time. These mofos are dead. And I would have Neve Campbell, if you can get her to come back, to kind of be like the shepherd of this new cast, make sure I cast some really good people to be the new carry forward, and have her go through the whole movie trying to teach them the rules and trying to help them out, kind of like she was in Scream 4. And then in the climax, she gets killed trying to save them or sacrifice herself or something.
Or I
would get rid of the original cast and shepherd something forward.
Or you do it in a really lame way all at once. Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, they're all together in some car or something. They're driving, they're going on vacation together, and the car just explodes.
Yeah. Just do a Jason Lives. It just comes down, just triple decapitation.
They're all triple decapitation. That's the opening. It just slices all their bodies. Like, oh my God. Well, that's the end of them, folks. That's the end of them. I on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, Tony Michael and I were talking about how, maybe, I said to him, what if you make Scream 5 like the last, of course, they never make this to be the, they hope there's always going to be more, but what if it's the last one and you make David Arquette, or you make Dewey he's the mastermind behind everything, right? He's the one that's actually oh my God, it's been him the whole time. And then you just kind of, he murders everybody and then he shoots himself. That's crazy. Super chat from Frank Riker. Thank you, buddy. Says, Cody, do you have hope for the future of horror? What movie did you see that made you say, what the hell did they do to this? That made you lose it all?
Well, there's no movie that made me lose faith in horror, because I think we could both agree horror is on a very big upswing right now.
It is. It is.
Artistically, it's got an upswing. People are responding better to it. Critics are responding better to it. I mean, hell, I don't think it's going to be very long before we see a horror film up for Best Picture. The movie that recently made me go, oh my God, this is what I don't want about horror, is Black Christmas, the remake from December. That was the one where I was like, I knew it was going to be bad. When they announced it, I knew it was going to be bad. When I saw the trailer, I knew it was going to be bad. And I saw it and I was like, this is fucking worse than I could have ever expected. And those are the type of movies. It's that weird conundrum with Blumhouse, because they tend to make some of the movies that I love the most in the year where I'm like, yes, that's awesome. Invisible Man, hell yeah. And then you get something like Black Christmas where you're like, fuck, and it's not what I want. Yes.
Yeah, I was as a gigantic Black Christmas fan of the original, I was extremely disappointed. And I was disappointed right out of the gate when I read it wasn't really a synopsis, it was more of a glorified log line, but they had, there was
Girl
one
power,
thing.
guys.
Yeah, it had that. And it's, what's so disappointing to me is not, like, look, I mean, I believe that you should be able to make a movie about whatever it is you want to make it about. And if you want to make a horror movie that's all about girl power, rising up and not being the stereotype of the damsel in distress or the final girl who, whatever. Of course, a lot of final girls do fight back, but in terms of like sort of just kind of get rid of a lot of the cliches. Great. I mean, I'm all for trying something new, take it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think what bothered me the most, maybe bothered me more than some, because, it's like Black Christmas is like, oh my God, that's like, what the fuck? But I felt that they did themselves a disservice. I think piggybacking on the Black Christmas name, but yet getting rid of, everything. And I get it. I mean, look, you try to not them, but there was a remake in 2006 that just was not very good and just kind of, I get it. And maybe they thought, well, what else is there to do? But because of the climate today, because of the climate today in society with everything going on, it didn't feel organic. It felt preachy, on the nose. Nobody likes to be told what to think. Yeah. It didn't feel like maybe if they had called the movie Slay Girls or something like that, which was the subtitle to the film anyway, or maybe if they, and of course, SLAY, right, Slay Hack. Maybe if they had called it, I don't know, Dark Holiday, or like something else that's not piggybacking on the Black Christmas IP in terms of its name, maybe I would have watched and been like, oh, it's not me, but all right, whatever, it's not but I couldn't just get it out of my head that this was supposed to be the reinvention of one of the most iconic horror classics of all time. And it just sort of, it didn't feel, I felt they did themselves a disservice and making it PG-13, and they made it PG-13, not because that was the right thing to do. They made it PG-13 because they wanted to get younger girls into the theater. And listen, I get it. There's nothing wrong with that in and of itself, but now you're putting many things before your story. And it just doesn't, I feel like they shot themselves in the foot. I mean, do you kind of see it the same way, or do you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I said it in my review, like, look, if you want to make like a full on balls to the wall, like women are awesome, every man in this movie is garbage, and just have fun with it, there's a movie out there that would probably be an absolute blast with that concept. Like, if you can't laugh at yourself, you shouldn't laugh at anybody else.
Well, look what they're doing with The Hunt. Look what they're doing with The Hunt, right? Exactly. It's satire. It's complete satire.
Yeah. So if you can do it that way, like I can envision a movie in my head that plays on that concept that would probably be hilarious.
Right.
And just every single, even like the innocent guy that seems like he's there, if he turns out to be a prick by the end and you have to kill him too, like that would be hilarious. But the way that they did it, exactly like you said, from the opening of the movie, there's like a quote and it's like, men are shit. And then Black Christmas. And then it's like, okay. And then, you watch it and okay, so you're getting beat over the head with a club the entire movie with this message. They're not doing it in a creative way. You don't care about any of the characters. And then you have the really only central characteristic of the main girl is that she was raped once.
Right.
And then you have the just, if you just want to go enjoy it purely as a slasher film, like you said, they diluted it down to PG-13 in one of the most terribly edited ways that I've seen, to where every kill is like immediate cutaway. There's no carnage candy. There's no payoff. Even the iconic Black Christmas image of the chick, like
right,
doing that, like they get like 2/3 of the way through the shot and they just cut it. And it's like, you can't show a chick with a bag on her head. And so even with that, you watch the movie and it's just like, there's
it's
nothing
me, Billy
here.
Can just saying.
Yeah,
no, you're right. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. I felt, and again, and maybe I wouldn't have felt as, but of course, being in, nearly pre-production on It's Me, Billy, of course, for those of you that may not know, that is the Black Christmas fan film that we are putting together, and we are very excited about it. We got top people involved, and I couldn't be more proud of the people that have come on board so far. So this is going to be, we just need to raise the money, of course, which our Indiegogo campaign is hopefully launching next month. But I'll talk more about that, of course, as the weeks go on, because I'm getting Bruce on the show next week. But maybe if I wasn't involved in this and I wasn't, maybe I wouldn't feel so. But I feel kind of like it's like why, like it feels like the movie was solely created, and I say this with the absolute respect, because I think Sophia Takal is talented. I think her writing partner April Wolf, I think her name is, there's nothing, this isn't personal. I don't know them. They were given the opportunity to make a movie, and they did the best they could, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I cannot help, because of the way it was marketed and executed, I cannot help but feel that Jason Blum was trying to fill a quota. And I'm sorry, it doesn't come across as organic. It comes across as synthetically created and chintzy. And it's just unfortunate, because there might have been something in there that was pretty cool. And there might have been a movie where we would have walked out going, well, it wasn't great, but you know what, it was okay. Yeah, it kills an afternoon, or you know what, that was kind of cool. But because of the clear sort of very conspicuous, not inconspicuous at all, sort of, message that's there, especially in today's climate, and it's not played for satire, it's played legit. It just doesn't feel right. It feels, I think they shot themselves in the foot, and I think the box office is evidence of that.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. A couple more super chats came in here. Mark Williams. Thank you, Mark, for supporting the channel that way. Mark says, my friend's company, Fourth Seal, have been brought on to create the Eyes of Chucky in the sci-fi series. Have you guys seen The Invisible Man? 2 questions. Well, that's really cool, Mark. Very cool. Awesome stuff. Well, hopefully your friend's company is going to do a good job. And have you guys seen The Invisible? I have yet to see The Invisible Man, but Cody, I think you did, right? What'd you think of it?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I had very little negative to say about it. There's a couple of there's a couple of plot contrivances in the movie, but there's reveals in the movie that I need to watch it a second time, because the reveals might explain away some of those contrivances. But beyond that, I thought it was an awesome movie. I love Lee Winnell as a director now. Like, he's one of those guys that when his name is on a project now, I'm instantly interested, because I loved Upgrade and I loved this. He has that very classic approach to tension. It's not about jump scares. There's a couple jump scares in the movie, but they're done well. But the movie's very good at creating tension off of a very real world situation, where it's not about supernatural, the dude's invisible. It's okay, what do you do in a situation where you have this aggressor that won't go away, to the most extreme interpretation of that sentence? And it's just a very cool, tense, exciting movie that does a really nice modern version of that classic story. And I look forward to seeing more movies like that from the Universal monsters.
I can't wait to see it. I'm excited to see it. Yeah, I've yet to see it, Mark, but I am really looking forward to it because I hear really good things, and I really enjoyed Upgrade. And funny enough, in the Insidious franchise, the first Insidious is still my favorite. I think, although Wan directed part 2, I think it's a bit of a step backwards, and actually almost literally as well, because it acts sort of like most of it's kind of a prequel to the. I didn't like that. I wanted to move forward with these characters. And then when I watched Insidious 3, I was home one evening about, I don't know, a year or two ago, and it was on Netflix. I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch it. And I think Leigh Whannell directed that movie. Yeah, and I wasn't expecting much. I mean, let's be honest. The third horror movie in a franchise is, usually, I mean, there's not, but you know what I mean. So I'm there and I'm like, all right, that's why. And I can't say I didn't love it. I don't know if I liked it, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. It wasn't great, but I was like, this is as good as it is because of Leigh Whannell, I think. Yes. And although it wasn't great, and because I was like, well, this is actually not that bad. Mm-hmm. And I never saw the fourth one, but I did see Upgrade, and I thought, well, I really enjoyed this. So, I think, so it's funny.
There's my review.
I was just gonna say, was that?
Yeah.
I love it. But you know what? And then I'm looking forward, but I am looking forward to the Invisible Man, and he's in here somewhere because. Yep. I heard that, man. So he's in here somewhere. Super chat comes in from, let's see, Philip Rouse, who says, what's your take on the future of Friday the 13th, especially now that we have Never Hike Alone and upcoming fan films? Do we even need another Friday the 13th film? Personally, I content with the fans taking control. Well, let me just say this before I pass over to Cody. There's a lot of legalities around that would have to be in place before fans can take control. I think. And again, I mean, you can't speak for every studio, but I think fan films, especially of the level of Never Hike Alone, and then Dylan's New Nightmare, and now what I'm doing with It's Me, Billy, I think studios are tending to, as long as you don't raise an enormous amount of money, like, $1 million or something like that. And as long as they're short films, studios, I think, are starting to become a little more okay with it because it keeps their properties in the pop culture consciousness. It keeps them relevant. It keeps fans excited about what could be. And if they're really good, and if the filmmakers are talented and they pull off stuff, I mean, who knows? I mean, it might lead to something down the road. I mean, Vince might have secured his spot, on the team officially someday. Mm-hmm. So I think fan films are good as long as they're, again, not, commercially released for obvious reasons, and, short films. I think studios are beginning to sort of be like, okay, it's okay, all right. But again, I mean, of course, at any time without warning, they could absolutely do what they can do. The future Friday the 13th. What do you take of future Friday the 13th? Well, you know what? I'm going to pass over to Cody first because I want to get his thoughts on this, and then I'll see if there's anything there that I want to piggyback on. But yeah, Cody, what do you think about that?
I'm very excited about where fan films have gone. Never Hike Alone, I was a huge fan of. I'm really looking forward to Never Hike in the Snow. I was a contributor to that one. Very curious to see what Cecil's going to do. Very curious to see what you're going to do. And it is awesome to be able to live in a time where fans can give their, people always say like, oh, if I did it, I would do it this way. Well, now fans can actually do it. So it's cool to see. But make no mistake, as soon as Friday the 13th gets their ass out of the legal system, there's going to be another one. There's never not going to be. We're going to go through spurts of nobody wants to talk about slashers, but then we're going to go through spurts of, hey, we got Friday the 13th sitting on the shelf over here. I haven't made one in 10 years. So we're going to get one. It's just a matter of when they get out of courts. But yeah, like you said, we're getting fan films to whet our appetite for a while. And it shows how hungry fans are for a lot of these properties too, because You'll get fan films that are very good, but you'll also get some fan films that are not very good that still get a lot of fan excitement just because it's something Jason. So it shows you that the demand is still there, and it probably will always be.
Absolutely. And where do you think because, you know, I have ideas of do you think Friday the 13th is going to go the Halloween 2018 route? Or do you think Friday, and I have thoughts on that, but, or do you think Friday the 13th is going to once again reboot itself?
Well, let's call it like it is. Friday the 13th has never been a franchise that's been based on story. That's about the excesses of the slasher genre. So I don't think they have any advantage to going back and saying story-wise, we're going to splice ourselves right here. I don't think anybody gives a shit.
That's a good point.
As long as you have, I hope to God Derek Mears comes back, but as long as you have a Voorhees that sells Voorhees and you have some creative kills and some good-looking people, that's really the main things that you need for a Friday the 13th film. But if I was to do it, like I had like a little pitch thing that I had planned on doing a video for it, but it's just kind of just stuck in my head. I hope that they would just follow up the 2009 remake. And you don't necessarily have to put a lot of effort into tying to that. You could just have Derek Mears be back and okay, we're up to date. We understand. But I think that it would be cool for them to reintroduce the Tommy Jarvis character in a creative way. Like I had an idea where you would actually go back to a camp where they would make a camp and there would be like a summer, you know, soft opening or something like that. And Jason, the part of Jason that's always intrigued me that's never really been explored in the movies much is that he's kind of like a curse. You know what I mean? He's kind of like a revenge curse in a way, but they never really play it in that sense. So I thought it would be cool to have something like a kid in this camp who's bullied, and there's always the story of Jason. There's the story of the kid that, you know, his mother was killed, the campfire story from the second film. And you could have it to where his rage brings back Jason somehow, like a revenge curse. And Jason starts slaying people in this camp, and you have that very nostalgic camp setting. And by the end of the movie, you reveal that this kid is Tommy Jarvis, and he has to be the one that takes Jason out because he's the one that brought him back. I think just a cool little twist on there. I don't know if they would ever be able to do that, but something creative enough to where it would make the fans really excited. It wouldn't take a lot of explanation for people that don't know shit about Jason, and it plays into the nostalgia and the things that you want from the franchise. I think it'd be a cool little jump off point.
That's pretty cool. And it might work too because, you know, Jason literally became supernatural. So, yeah. I mean, you can totally explore those options. One of the things that I don't know if the Halloween 2018 route, depending on how you want to say it, would go because, like you mentioned, and you're bang on, is it hasn't, the Friday the 13th films, although funny enough, as Tony Michael often says, as shitty as a lot of them are, they're all part of the same timeline, which is crazy to think that Friday the 13th, the final Friday, you know, part 9, is in the same universe as the original Friday the 13th. I mean, that's crazy to think. Even I think Jason X is. But you're right. It really hasn't been about story, and there hasn't been that one final girl or one character that has carried many of the films. I mean, we had Adrian King, of course, die at the beginning of the first movie, and then Amy Steele we never saw again, and then, of course, the girl from the third movie we never saw. So there was never, just as soon as you become emotionally attached to a character, it's really isolated stories, you know, even though it's part of the same timeline and it's linear, they're isolated things sort of along the way. So there's nothing, I mean, there might be some characters that fans would like to see back, but I don't think it's imperative to the success of the franchise moving forward. Where Halloween, it might have been a bit different. Yeah. For me, I mean, I was not a huge fan of the 2009 film. It was, I didn't hate it or anything. I just was like, well, this is what I expected, and, you know, whatever. I would love to see a hard remake. But go back and sort of, and they would never do this because Jason is, of course, the brand identity of the series, and I get it, I understand it, but I would love to see them go back and sort of so we're all the way back, like we're way back when Pamela Voorhees is a cook in the kitchen, you know, and Yeah. And we watch and we see this, and maybe half the movie is that, and the other half is like a sort of a soft remake of the original Friday the 13th or something to that degree. And then it really kind of sets you up for Jason's return in the next movie. Again, I don't think they would do that, but I just like a really modern, like really edgy sort of, like, it's a slasher film, but it's like, wow, that was fucking intense. Like a lot of suspense and real, like they took it very seriously. I'd love to see that angle to it. I think it would be really, really cool, because Jason's coming, you know, it's not like, it's like, oh, I guess the mom's just the killer now. No, it's just, this is part of the backstory. You know, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see that, but I don't think they would do it, obviously. But
my buddy CP is the biggest Friday the 13th fan that I know, and he's actually pitched that same idea numerous times to where
interesting.
I think with the pure Friday the 13th fans, there's a hunger for that.
Yes.
But like you said, I don't know, because it's the joke in the original Scream for a reason about, no, the mother's the killer in the first film. So it's a joke for a reason, because everybody's like, oh, Jason.
you are definitely. You see, that's the thing, is that the original Friday the 13th, obviously it's not so much this anymore, but certainly in 1980, it had that whodunit vibe to it. It's not a whodunit film, obviously. It is a slasher movie, but it had that element to it. And obviously, once you know who's done it in any whodunit movie, when you watch it again, you already know. So it's a one-trick pony in that sense, and you always hope that the movie has a lot of things going for it. So despite the fact that you know who the killer is, there's a lot of rewatchability there. But I would say that to then take that approach, you would take the approach of, instead of putting the characters in the same position as the camp counselors, which is what they did in the original film. The camp counselors don't know who the killer is, what's going on. So it's as if you're one of them at the camp, which is my favorite way to do it. But you're right, because everybody knows that the mother's the killer, you would have to sort of reverse it. And the mother's the killer from the very beginning, but now you're watching, the enjoyment is watching the discovery of the counselors discover that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you sort of go that, which can totally work depending on how you do it. But CP, if you're watching, I'm right there with you. Yeah. So many options. But I don't know. But if there's one thing that you're absolutely bang on, is there's going to be another Friday the 13th. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
How are you for time, Cody?
I'm good, man.
You're good? All right. Cordell. Okay, Cordell sends in a super chat, says, my two fave YouTubers, do you guys think there'll be a comeback surge of slashers, or they will live in fan films from now on? To be honest, I'm fine with either. Cody?
I think Halloween 2018's already kind of kicked open the door for that. It's just a matter of getting some shit out. You got the Friday the 13th that's in the legal system right now, unfortunately. Otherwise, we already would have had one. You have the Freddy, which is, not necessarily in the same situation, but there was some changing of hands of who owns the rights for a while there. I would say within a year, we'll probably hear an announcement on a new one of that. We had Chucky. Easy to forget about, but we had that one. We're going to have two more Halloween films within the next 2 years, provided the coronavirus doesn't go all the way through to October. But
oh my God. I don't know if you saw the video I posted yesterday, but there were two guys at the grocery store yesterday that were fighting over toilet paper. And one of the guys, not one word of a lie, was like, why the fuck do you need this so bad? And the other guy was like, because I take massive shits. I take massive shits. I'm not kidding. That's what he said. And I'm standing there and I'm laughing hysterically. I'm like, how can you argue with that? The guy takes massive shits. All right, there you go. Fair enough, it's yours.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry.
I think we're in the middle of it. It just hasn't quite kicked off into the second gear yet. But I think between the next two Halloween films, for sure, you're going to hear an announcement on A Nightmare on Elm Street. Hopefully, they'll get out of the courts and you'll hear something on Friday the 13th. We got Candyman coming this month or this year. You've got, Scream just got announced. I don't think we're going to be very far from seeing things like Texas Chainsaw. We're there. It's just we're not seeing it yet.
Right. Right. I agree. And although I will add this, that I think when we talk about the slasher genre, I think Cody's right that Halloween 2018 has kicked open this door to the potential of revisiting the slasher genre. The issue, depending on how you look at it, the situation, let's say, because it may not be an issue depending on who you are. The situation is, will we see a reinvention of the slasher genre, a resurgence of the slasher genre itself, or will we just see the properties that we know and love make their comebacks, have a swan song in a couple of films or something, and then they go away? Because most of the success in the slasher genre is going to come from the properties that were successful 30 years ago. We have the Halloweens, we're going to have Candyman, we're going to have Friday the 13th, we're going to have Elm Street, but are we going to get a new slasher villain? And the answer to that is probably not. I mean, we might, but the slasher genre, by and large, for the last 30 years or so, has lived in the B movie sort of area. It was Freddy, Jason, and Michael that sort of transcended that. But that doesn't usually happen, and I don't think that they're relying on Freddy and Jason because they're proven IPs, and they know that they're probably, if it's done well, if it's marketed well, they're going to make bank at the box office. But if they were to write a slasher film called, I don't know, Hacksaw Man, you know what I mean? And now it's Hacksaw. Did you know about Hacksaw Man? It's probably not going to make $250 million at the worldwide box office. Yeah. So it's an interesting, I don't know if we'll ever see the slasher subgenre take over. I think because we're in the era of nostalgia, which is a huge part of what's driving this, I think we will see a Freddy again, and I think we will see Jason, and we got Candyman coming and things like that. But once we get past this and they're out, will we see the genre itself sort of, oh my God, it's this new, and I don't know. I think horror is maturing and evolving beyond just the slasher genre, because I've said this, many times on my channel. 30, 40 years ago, horror was slasher. I mean, there were other, films too, but that essentially was horror. And now it's grown and blossomed into so many different subgenres. So I don't know. Do you see it the same way?
No, I agree. It's very hard to try to recapture what made these guys iconic in the first place, because we all love slashers, but if we want to be honest, they all have their flaws, and they all kind of share their flaws, and you can't really lean into those flaws in 2020 and make a new film where the characters aren't so great, you don't really care about them, and the story might be a little messy, but that dude's pretty badass when he's cutting somebody up, because it just doesn't have the same hit that it did in the 80s when that was what you had. So it would almost take like a reinvention of what you think a slasher movie is, or it would take somebody like a James Wan or a Lee Winnell or a big name in horror, John Carpenter, if he decided to come back, to where, okay, I've got this new character, this new story, and we're going to try this. It would take something like that. But
yeah, you're right, and because people forget that, in the beginning of the 90s, the slasher genre was largely dead. And it wasn't until Scream in 1996 where it was, Scream is it's a slasher movie for all intents and purposes, but it's quite a few things in there. Yeah. And, I had somebody a little while ago say Scream wasn't spoofy. It was, and I was like, you had Wes Craven in it, dressed up as in a Freddy sweater with a hat on. His name is he's the janitor of the high school. I think that's a bit self-aware, but Scream was one of those movies that revitalized, that made you look at the slasher subgenre of horror in a bit of a different way. Yeah. Right. And it's like, oh, so it can also be this as well. And I think Cody is bang on in the sense that if the subgenre itself, not the proven properties that we know and love that are going to make money at the box office no matter what, but anything new beyond that, I think you would have to get especially today's movie-going audience, you'd have to get people to look at it a bit differently from a different angle through a different lens, no pun intended. So yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Super chat comes in from Frank Riker. Cody, do you think horror movies still need a protagonist like Andy or Laurie to always carry the good versus evil fight throughout the series? And are we missing that in today's movies? Thanks for coming on, man. Great question, Frank. Cody, take it away.
I mean, you don't need it. We have plenty that don't have a character like that, but in general, the genre, yeah, you're going to need some protagonists to root for. One of my buddy Brian Lomax, one of the biggest things that he always says is you have to have that balance of good and evil in a movie. You have to have a balance where you have a movie like Hereditary where everything sucks. There's no hope. Everything's going to shit. And then the movie ends. And then you need a balance sometimes. You need a hero to carry through. You need somebody to triumph. You need somebody to carry the torch. Because as much as we love seeing Jason hack through 87 people in a movie, you got to have somebody to root for as well. And you got to have some kind of a triumph, some kind of a victory to go towards in the story. So do you need it for every movie? No. But in general, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there has to be somebody in the movie that, like, as you say, you can root for, you can get behind, that you can live. I mean, nobody wants to live necessarily, literally vicariously through that. But that you are living essentially vicariously through that you experience. They are your emotional connection to the movie. They are your attachment. You are. Many of the emotions they are experiencing as the main protagonist, you are also experiencing as a viewer. Mm-hmm. And if there's no connection to anybody like that in the movie, then the movie is flat, and then you naturally, instinctually try to find a connection somewhere, and then you'll probably try to find that connection with the antagonist. And unless the antagonist is an anti-hero, it's probably not, you might think he's cool. Well, Michael's cool, but there's really no emotional connection there, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. Let's see. There's another super chat I missed. There was a couple I missed here.
It's like Oliver Mercer.
Yes. Oh, and Vanderhoff 66FU says, thank you very much, buddy. Says, glad you got this way. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Dave, right? Your name's Dave, right? I think it's Dave. Hang on a sec. I got your note here. Dave sent this up to me. It's Dave, right? I think it's Dave. Yeah, Dave Vanderhoff. Dave, my man. Dave sent this over, and you sent those DVDs as well. Thank you. Very cool, by the way. I'm definitely going to check them out. So thank you so much for sending them up, Dave. Really appreciate that. Oliver Mercer sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you very much, Oliver, and says, hey, Cody, have you ever written any scripts in your time? I am not in his time, but in a past life, I think he might have. I am writing a future war script at the moment. I've named it Terminator Future Survival. I'm expanding on John Connor, not killing him, fan from the UK. I'm expanding on John Connor, not killing him, fan from the UK. Cody.
Thanks, Oliver. No, I don't have any experience in script writing, so I haven't written like a technical script, but I have written stories for a movie, like just a freehand version of a script, I guess. I did a 2-episode series on my channel that, I don't know, I might revisit it one day, but it was one of those things where I was passionate about it, and then nobody watched it, so I was like, oh, whatever. But it was a show called Pitch Wars, and the idea was that me and a guest would have a topic, and we would both go do our own separate little script or stories, and we would come back and we would pitch it, and the viewers would choose who they liked more, and then the next episode I would announce the winner. So the first episode I did was with my buddy Durbania, and we did this is before Justice League came out. We did our own DC Universe movie. He did his version of Justice League. I did my version of a Batman film. And so we pitched it in 3 different acts, and then put that video out. And then I did the second one with CP, where we pitched our own original slasher. So I have written stories that I write, envisioning them as movies. But I don't have any training or education on how to write an actual professional script.
Very cool. There you go, Oliver. Let's see. Michaela, maybe? Snow? Hey, does this work? Yes, it does. Thank you for supporting the channel. And then follows up. It does work. Thank you for supporting the channel again. Cody, if you can star in any horror franchise, what would you choose?
Nightmare on Elm Street, baby.
There it is. Why Nightmare on Elm Street? Well, I think I know why, but just for the sake of the question, why Elm Street?
My favorite slasher franchise, and like especially if I could be a victim, like if I could just point to my kids, like, look, Freddy killed me. That'd be cool.
That's cool. I often joke and say sometimes people will ask me, do you think Blumhouse would ever get you in a Halloween movie? And I'm like, hey, first of all, I mean, if they're watching my channel, then they would know that I'm probably I probably I haven't been friendly to many of the Halloween movies. So I said, even if they wanted to, they would probably make sure that Michael kills me. I die a miserable, painful, suffering death on screen.
And I would do it in a heartbeat.
And I would do it in a heartbeat. 100%. Michael picks me up, screams. Yes, Jason, let's do it. Yes. Be amazing. Let's see here. Die Hard Drummer 84 sends in a super chat, says, favorite death in the Friday the 13th series. Keep
your eyes peeled on my channel, and you'll find out later on today.
Oh, well, there you go. Hey, that's right. It's
try.
Friday the 13th.
Nice try. Try to spoil it.
Very cool. Well, yeah. Make sure you head over to Cody Leach's channel. It's just Cody Leach. Just YouTube Cody Leach. He's I think you're the first one that pops up. And make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell, as they say, so you don't miss out on that, folks. That's very interesting. Okay, I think I got all the super chats. So let's keep going here. Let's see. Justin S says, 2 of my favorite movie reviewers, been subscribed to both of you for about a year now. Well, thank you, Justin. Really appreciate that. Let's see. PC Pierce says, think my super chat was missed. Was it PC? Let's go back. It may have been. It always sometimes happens when got a lot of people in here and
you go back and it just says hi.
Oh, it just says hi?
No, I'm just.
I see. Oh, wait, there it is. Yes, I see it here. I see it, PC. Thanks for notifying me. You two disagree about Dream Warriors. Cody ranks it 1 and 2. Dave, not so much. Discuss something you agree on. H5 ruined the franchise. Tina sucks. It's funny. You guys don't agree. Discussion. Okay, Cody, that's it. You listen here, you son of a bitch. That's what they want. They want you fucking. You want to go? You want to go?
I saw one earlier. It said, I want to see these two throw down on Halloween 2018. I'm like, but we agree on almost the whole movie.
we do.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. You gave it I think a 3.5 out of 5. I gave it a C+. So it's pretty much exact. And we tend to agree on a lot of the things that they. Yeah, that's funny. You two disagree about Dream Warriors. Cody ranks it 1. Okay, so 1 and 2. Yeah, no. Dream Warriors would I pretty much go in order. So it'd be like my favorite is the first one, followed by the second one, because of how dark, everything is in that movie. And then, even though I know there's some continuity issues, and then followed by Dream Warriors, I think is sort of, so it kind of goes in that order. So it's, I don't think there's too much to discuss there. I mean, it's not like I rank it, 3 last or something, which would be really interesting to discuss. That would be an interesting discussion. Exactly. But ranking it 2 and then 3, that's pretty marginal, I think, in the big picture.
Yeah, it's my favorite of the franchise because it's the one that I had the most fun with. I understand. I love the first one. Obviously, I love the first one. I can't take anything away from it, and it's like a razor thin difference. What edges it out for me is I hate the last 2 minutes of the first film where she wakes up and then you get the silly ass doll pulled through the door and everything. I never liked that. But you get to Dream Warriors, and though it doesn't have its flaws, they all do. That one is like the perfect mix of me of dark Freddy and fun Freddy. Right. That's where they got the mix right. I love the kills. I love the one-liners. I love the Dawkins soundtrack and the characters. I think the Elm Street children, if you will, in that film to me are the best of the franchise. I love the way that they utilize Nancy when she comes back, and they kind of have the sacrifice with her. So I've always had the most fun with 3. If I'm in a Freddy mood, 9 times out of 10, that's when I pick.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I would say it's probably. Again, if I'm in a Freddy mood, I usually go to 1 or 2, but I mean, I like 3. I do. I mean, it's that nice mix. It's that nice. If they had kept Freddy there, I mean, I prefer dark Freddy, 1 and 2. But but I understand there's, an evolution of the character. Okay. If they had kept Freddy in the world of 3, in terms of that's how far we're going to go. It's going to be kind of that balance. Okay. All right. But you get to 6. I mean, it's just.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, hell, you get to 4 and he's eating all the pizza and you're like,
yeah. That's right. I love the line in part 3 when he's like, "You look tired."
Yep.
I love it. Let's see here. Okay, got that. Make sure I got everything. I believe I did. That's Oliver Mercer going down. Oh, there's got that. And Frank Riker says, super chat, thank you, buddy. Says, Cody, favorite Iron Maiden song?
Oh, wow. Dude, I don't even know if I could pick they have a lot of great ones. I would need preparation for that question. That's not one I could do off the cuff.
You know what's funny is back in the 80s when I was a kid, young boy, growing up, I have older siblings who were very much into Iron Maiden, and of course they have their mascot Eddie, right, which is the eel, you know. And I was so enamored with this. Oh, there you go. Yeah. I was so enamored with this character. I loved this character, but I had this reoccurring dream living where I did. And it was a dream where I'd wake up and my feet would start to move and I had no control over my feet. I'm like 7 or 8, right? And I had no, you know, and then I would go out of my room and down the hall and into the kitchen and then I would race down the stairs into the basement and I'd be heading toward this dark room, and then out of the room would come Eddie, and he had like the white hair, and he'd be like, you know, it's the Eddie from the cover. He's got the white hair and he's going like this or something, and it's got like the little devil with the pitchfork. I forget the name of the album, but
that should be The Number of the Beast.
That's probably it. Let me just let me Google that very quickly. Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and it is, yes, you are right, 100% right. So that's the Eddie of how he looked when he was coming out of, you know, the room. And then as soon as he came out of the room, I would wake up, and I had that dream. I don't know how many times I had it, but it was a reoccurring dream, and it was the only reoccurring dream I've ever had in my life. And then as soon as we moved away from that house to another town about 30 minutes away, I never had that dream ever again. And to this day, I have never had that dream ever again. Wow. So it's weird to kind of be away from it. It was all because of the location. But anyway, I loved Eddie, but he scared the. Oh, and then I remember another dream where and this wasn't reoccurring. It was just one, you know, time. I was like, you know, 8 or 9, whatever, and I was lying in bed and I woke up, or I thought I woke up. I was probably still actually dreaming, and I rolled over, and Eddie is right beside me, right beside my nightstand, going like this. And I was like, ah! But I loved it. I don't know. I love the character so much. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, Iron Maiden's cool. At least I thought Eddie was cool. Let's see here.
Everybody keeps saying we missed something from Brandon Berry.
Brandon Berry. Well, thank you so much, guys, for saying that. Let's go back here and see if we can find Brandon Berry. Just doing a bit of a scroll. 200 people in the chat room right now, so sometimes that, you know, the chat moves fast, folks, so really appreciate you guys pointing that out. Let's see. JT Gorgon did send in a super chat, just supporting the channel. Thank you so much, buddy. Oh, oh yes, there it is. I see it too. Brandon Berry, thank you for the super chat, Brandon. Really appreciate it. What with coronavirus, does this increase fear of going to the theater? Cody, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not panicking yet, but when you're older and when you have kids, you certainly err on the side of caution. So you take an extra second to think about it. I almost went to the theater to see The Hunt last night, but I had things to do. If I didn't have that Friday the 13th video to work on, I might have went. So I'm not at the point where I'm like, no movies until this shit's over with.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm not quite there yet. But tune in next week for when I have Bruce on, because Bruce obviously he works for those of you that may not know, he works for William F. White International here in Toronto, or White's for short. He's a national manager of education and training there, and White's is Canada's largest distributor of film and television lighting and grip gear. They also have a camera department. So when Hollywood comes up to Toronto or Canada, you know, they usually well, yeah, they often will go with Whites. We do have competitors, but they will go with them. And Bruce right now is, of course, as you can imagine, I mean, you know, the film industry across the board is just sort of trying to figure out how to mitigate and ride the wave of this. So it'll be interesting to get his perspective next week as it relates to the film industry. And he was talking to me a bit about that. But, you know, with the movie theater, I think I was going to go see The Hunt this weekend. weekend. I'm not sure if I will. It's not crazy up here yet, but certainly we do have it here. I think it's in all honesty, I think, and I think Cody would agree, it really is a literally day by day, hour by hour assessment. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next, from 1 hour to the next. So I don't know. We just kind of have to wait and see. Let me see here. Super chat comes in from Doug. Hey, I have an uncle, Doug. Is that you, Doug? No. Doug. Yeah, it's me, man. Doug 804 says, good Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel would be set in 1995, right after Waco incident Dallas was great. And it would start with Texas Rangers interrogating Chop Top, who's on death row, about the rest of the family. That's interesting. Cody, what do you think of that idea?
No. Here's the thing that's weird.
No.
Here's the thing that's weird about Texas Chainsaw. Hey, there you go. Every single movie, with the exception of maybe the remake in the beginning that are kind of close, every single movie is like a wildly different turn. Like there's no consistency in that franchise at all. Every movie's like hard reboot, hard reboot, hard reboot. So I really don't know what the answer is for what a good Texas Chainsaw sequel is. They've gone back in time enough to where it's that doesn't excite me as an idea, and I'm not positive. I think Chop Top was killed at the end of the second one, or at least he rolled after getting stuck with a chainsaw. So maybe you could explain that away. But I don't know. To me, Texas Chainsaw is not going to excite me anymore until like a big name is attached to it. Like they have the Fede Alvarez, I think, is producing one, but if he was directing one, I would be like, oh shit. So I don't know. That franchise is just weird. I don't know what left there is to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm a big fan. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan, but I like the original. It's very dated now, but certainly for its time, I can see the attraction to it. I can see the exploitation, the visceral sort of intensity. I mean, certainly that would be absolutely terrifying. I think even when what's her face is being chased in the dark by Leatherface himself, I don't even think there's music. I think it's just the elements and the chainsaw in the distance and her screaming. I mean, it definitely is intense. But there wasn't a sequel to that movie until the mid-'80s starring Dennis Hopper, which was, like a comedy. Yeah. And then you got Leatherface, the third one, which I think that's the one that had Matthew McConaughey in it. And, Yeah, exactly. And then, now the remake in 2003, I think it was 3 or 4.
That's my favorite one. I love that.
That was, as far as remakes go, that was really good. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like the 2013 sort of official sequel, I guess, to the original. Although I did appreciate the authenticity and the attention to detail that they had kind of in the opening. They made Leatherface.
They lost it really quick with the cell phones.
They did. They absolutely did. 100%. But they made Leatherface like an anti-hero. Yeah. And I don't want to feel sympathy. I mean, listen, okay, it's sad. I mean, we can't choose who we're born to and where we're born, but I mean, that doesn't mean that, he's murdered lots of people, so I just don't, the Texas Chainsaw, for me, Leatherface wouldn't even be on the Mount Rushmore. It just
Not
doesn't.
For me either. And he's always the one that I hear is like, who would be number 4? And to me, it's like, well, Chucky. And not only because I'm biased, but to me, he just seems like the one that's had the most consistent franchise. But nonetheless, I always hear Leatherface. I always hear Leatherface. I'm like, maybe
I think he's
8.
right. Yeah. I think he's a cool character, but he's never had anything beyond the original as being good, and even that is up for debate because of how it's aged. So I mean, it's very difficult to sort of kind of say. Michaelia Snow, hopefully I'm saying that right again. Dave and Cody, my boyfriend is writing a Halloween 5 script following Halloween 4. Any tips for more mood and atmosphere? Could Tina be the new Loomis? In terms of mood and atmosphere, I think it's just make sure that you set the scene very well. So we know be as descriptive as you can, but always make sure that you are showing, not telling, right? So it's because scripts are very different than novels or books. When you write a screenplay, you're in a very show because you're writing as if it's happening that moment. So it's a show, don't tell, but just take your time. My advice really to be for anybody wanting to write a script, don't edit as you go. Write a script, write it all down. If it ends up being 138 pages long, let it be 138 pages long. Then go back and start editing. Then go back and, then you start, and then go back again and go back again. I mean, more often than not, the first draft you write will not be your final draft. You'll end up with 5 or 6 or 10, depending on how long it is. So just take your time with it, but be as, be as descriptive as you can without being verbose. Like for example, you might say something like, exterior. So you'd say exterior gas station night. Moonlight shines onto an empty parking lot. Crickets are heard in the distance, like things like that. That really sort of sets a tone and a mood. You know what I mean? But don't go on, don't go on where it's like a paragraph of just, and there's the wind, and then this, just kind of set that mood so people know what to expect. They can kind of feel that, right? But show, don't tell, is really important with that. Tony, Cody, do you have anything to add? Tony, do you have anything to add? Tony's here. How the fuck are you? Anything to add to that?
Here's my tip. Watch Halloween 5, write everything down.
Don't do that.
And then do the opposite.
There we go. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Super chat comes in from David Catone. Am I saying that right? Probably not. Butchering it. Name the metal band that did soundtrack to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I have no idea.
I don't know offhand, but Google Magic, baby.
Google Magic. Google Magic. We're going to find out in a second here.
That was a test. We both failed.
Miserably. Although I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw 3 in probably, since it...
I saw it once when I did my review, and I forgot it immediately.
Yes.
I'm not getting an answer. There's not like one band, I don't think. It's just a lot. I'm not sure. I fail, David.
Let me ask my Google Home. Hey, Google, who is the metal band that did the soundtrack for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3?
Leatherface. On the website discogs.com, they say, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 Discogs.
I know the name of the movie is
Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing, Google. You suck. Our date is off. Yeah. Frank Riker sends a super chat, says, Cody, the one thing I notice about Leatherface is he has never been wounded or hurt like the other top 3 to give you that oh shit moment. Thought.
Yeah, he has. He has plenty of times. The second movie, he gets a chainsaw shoved right into his stomach. The remake, he gets his arm chopped off. That might be it.
That's right. He does get his arm chopped off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I never saw Texas Chainsaw. I did see Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, which I hate when people, the beginning, The Exorcist, the beginning, Batman Begins, I guess. I know, but you know what? To be fair, I don't even really like the title Batman Begins. I think it's kind of, now the movie I actually really do like, but I hate the whole, it's too kind of like, I don't know, come up with something else. Silly here. All right, we'll go for a few more minutes here. Let's see. Jared Patrick says, slug lines and geographic description is a huge part in helping define the mood and atmosphere. Just don't be too descriptive. It gets busy when you overdo it. I could not agree more. Also, too, something like you said, I mean, make sure that you have the basic premise and come up with a log line or a synopsis to what your basic premise is, and then sort of fill out from there, into the nitty gritty details. I mean, there's no, I'm not gonna say there's no right way to do it, but how someone writes, the creative process to how someone gets from A to B is different for many people. You know, for you writing a script, a very deep sci-fi epic, maybe it works best for you to go and sit next to a construction site with jackhammers, going on all day. And for other people, they got to go up into a cabin in the woods where, nobody's around because that helps them think. I mean, it's what one's creative process is not necessarily another's, but Jared is right in the sense that it's important to not be over verbose and over descriptive, but you definitely want to set the scene so the reader has an idea of the environment that they are in. If you picture in your mind that moonlight is shining down, well, then you mention that. If you picture in your mind that there are crickets here, well, then you mention that. You know what I mean? But don't be too verbose.
Yeah.
Let me see here. All right. David Ferguson says the chainsaw falls on his leg at the end of the original when he runs out onto the highway. Oh, that's true too. Yeah. That's true too. Yeah, Frank, got to brush up on your Texas Chainsaw there, Frank. But then again, I had to be reminded of it as well. Jason Meyer says Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4: The Next Generation was the one, with Matthew and Renee Zellweger, not Leatherface. Well, see, that goes to show you. I don't even know if I've seen that movie. Daisy McMillan says Matthew McConaughey, Texas Chainsaw. Maybe that's the name of the movie. All right.
Yeah, that would be funny to get him back into a Texas Chainsaw movie. Have it big budget and be like, oh man.
Can you imagine if they got Matthew McConaughey or Renee Zellweger in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it was played off as if it's fucking serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would too. Let me see here. Lauren Downing says, "Add Cody Leach. Have you seen Deadly Friend, 1986, directed by Wes Craven? Thoughts?"
I've never even heard of Deadly Friend, to be honest with you.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. It's from 1986. Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Let me see. Somebody we haven't got yet. Let's see here. Go back. Somebody horrid film says, talk about how you disagree on the first Friday the 13th. The original is Dave's favorite. I want you to talk about it. Just argue. I tuned in to see you guys. I want fisticuffs. The original is my favorite. I would say the first four are probably my favorites. And then, sorry?
Human Jason.
Yes. More human-esque Jason. He's certainly, he's got something going on there. But I like those. The first is my favorite because, and people have heard me say this 1,000 times, it's because of the, I like the whodunit approach. I like the psychological component, the ingredient that's there, the darkness and the ear. I just, it's a slasher film first and foremost, but I just, I like those things that are there. And then by the time you get to 3 and 4, it's really sort of found its groove and it's very much kind of just what it is. Yeah. And I appreciate 6 for what it is. It's not my favorite in the series, although I do understand it is the fan favorite, in a general sense, very much kind of like Elm Street 3. But I don't like 7. And ironically, although Kane Hodder is probably the most identified with the role, I don't like any of the movies that he's been in.
Oh, yeah. I think most people would agree with that. I've said that numerous times. I was like, why is he the one who celebrated when you guys shit on every movie that he was in? He's not even, I think he's like 4th or 5th best Jason for me too. I think that's sacrilege to a lot of people, but I prefer Ted White. I prefer I'm blanking on
Richard Brooker.
Richard Brooker. I got Richard in my head. I was like Richard who? Richard Brooker and Derek Mears is my favorite. Right. I think he kind of, the ferocity of that dude was just like, that is Jason for me.
Yeah, I got to watch that again. Admittedly, I have only seen the remake from 2009 once, and I did not like. It's not like I walked away going, "Well, that was a fucking piece of shit." No, not at all. I watched it and I thought, Okay, just didn't. It was fine. I got to watch it again. But yeah, the I don't like anything. Like I don't like 7. I don't like 8 at all. And 8 is funny because 8 was shot in Vancouver, up here in Canada, and it's funny when they're about to, like I'm like, since when did Crystal Lake it's strange. The original film, it looks like, because it was shot in the middle of New Jersey and it was shot at an actual campsite. So when you look at it, it's like, well, this looks like you got a bit of a hill there, but it looks like a lake, and then you get to 3 and it's shot in California, and you have like the swamp that they create. It looks like a swamp. It's like, what the hell is this? And then you get to part 8 and they're boarding this cruise ship and you can see the Vancouver mountains in the background. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Since when? I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just strange to me. I don't know. It's just very strange, the terrain in these movies. But yeah, and then of course Jason Goes to Hell, the eating of the, what the hell is this? What is that?
It's a batshit crazy movie that's very entertaining, but it's weird as hell.
Oh, it's weird as fucking hell. Absolutely weird as hell. Let's see here. Super chat from Luis Nunez. Cody, is Leatherface supernatural?
No.
I agree. Frank Riker says, Cody, favorite piss your pants comedy?
Oh, I think my favorite comedy of all time is Midnight Run. I wouldn't say it's like a piss your pants comedy, but that's my favorite. 40-Year-Old Virgin is very high up there. Wedding Crashers is very high up there. I will always have a soft spot for the first 2 American Pie films. Yeah, we'll say those.
Okay, cool. Cavern of Terror sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Much appreciated. Says, if John Carpenter directed one final film, I would make it a small, intimate story. Cast Kurt and Wyatt Russell and have his son score. Thoughts? Well, I guess it depends on what that small, intimate story is. I'd be open to hearing the pitch.
Yeah, I don't know. If John Carpenter directs one more film, I think that he needs to go nostalgia. I think he needs to do something kind of like what VFW did. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but
I didn't.
I think that's where he shines, with something that's kind of a little crazy, a little, Escape from New York-ish or something like that. I think his last couple films, like The Ward and everything, where it's just trying to be a little bit more simple, I don't think his style works for that. I mean, it worked for Halloween, obviously, but even that was just kind of him. That was lightning in a bottle.
Right.
I think if John Carpenter was going to do one more, and I don't know how much budget he would get, because as much as we love him, he's not really a big name in Hollywood anymore.
No, and he doesn't like working for the studio system either. So he'd probably, I mean, he already has a relationship with Jason Blum. So I could see him lining himself with Blum and maybe making a picture for, $3 or $4 million or something like that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, but John Carpenter, I mean, he's not afraid. I don't get the impression he has the desire. I mean, he's 70, 73 or 4, whatever he is. No, 70. I think he's 70, 71 or something. Mm-hmm. I just don't think he has the desire. I mean, he said on many occasions, I just like sitting at home, watching my basketball, playing my Xbox, whatever it is. I just don't think he'll score. Like, look, if his son Cody and his godson Daniel Davies had no interest in scoring Halloween with John Carpenter, I could totally see him backing out of that. Mm-hmm. I could totally see him saying, no, I don't want to do it. It's, I think the only reason why he did it, one of the only reasons why, to be fair, I mean, I don't want to speak for him, obviously, but he's got his son, mm-hmm. So the workload it's a collaborative thing. It's fun. It's inspiring. I don't know if he would have done it completely on his own. I just see him in a different phase of his life. He's enjoying his music. He's enjoying, reaping the benefits of the residual checks that, have come in from Halloween. I just kind of see it that way. So
I think he's very comfortable with his filmography. He's like, look, I retired on
100%.
Well, he didn't retire on top because he kind of had a little downslope, but
yeah.
His name is synonymous with horror. He's like, I'm good.
100%. 100%. Oh yeah. He doesn't have anything to prove. It's like, Robert Englund. It's like, Robert, don't worry about it, man. It's cool. It's, it's okay.
Yes.
Chris Baber says, watched your Psycho movie series review yesterday, Cody. Awesome.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That was a fun one to do.
Awesome stuff. All right, folks, that is going to do it for Cody and I here on episode 30 of McRae Live. I want to thank everybody who tuned in to watch us today and all the super chats that came in supporting the channel. Keeps this channel going, folks. Really, really appreciate it. And if you have not subscribed to Cody Leach, what the fuck are you waiting for? Get over there. YouTube is named right now, Cody Leach, Leach, not Leech. And he's the first one that pops up. Subscribe to his channel. He's got great movie reviews over there. He's honest, he's brutal, and he pulls no punches. And you won't always agree with him, and that's okay. Just keep that in mind. But you'll have fun doing it. That's exactly right. And of course, in the little bar at the bottom of the screen here, you can see his Instagram and Twitter. That is CJL. That's all right. CJL Lone Wolf. So just at CJL Lone Wolf on Twitter and Instagram, or just put in Cody Leach and it'll pop up as well. Cody, my man, do you have anything else you want to say? You want to plug that thing that you're going to be releasing this afternoon?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thanks for letting me on.
No problem.
Enjoy watching you when I get a chance to, and I'm glad I got a chance to join you, and the stars aligned for us. I had a lot of fun. I'd be more than happy to come back at any time that I'm not working my ass off. So,
absolutely, man. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. Fuck, let's do it. Fuck, we'll do it at 3. We'll do it at 3. Do it. Fuck it. We'll do it live. All right.
Push That's right. Yeah. So thanks a lot for that. Thank you for everybody in the super chat. I'm pleasantly surprised how good the chat has been. I was a little worried with some of the things we had to give little asterisks for. So thank you for that. And then yes, today, at some point today, I don't have a time because I still have some work to do on it, and then I have to render it. But the Friday the 13th slay list is coming your way. All 181 kills in the Friday the 13th franchise, ranked from worst to best, long awaited.
Oh my God, 180. How long have you been working on this?
It's been something that I've chipped away at a little bit over the past couple. I announced it maybe a year ago because I announced I was going to do Freddy and then Michael and then Jason, but YouTube kept demonetizing it. So I was like, I ain't putting all that fucking work in for Jason. Right. So finally, I've kind of regained my momentum. I'm like, all right, I need to do it. So I've done hard work on it for the past month, about 2 to 3 hours a day.
Wow. Think of that. And you're working and you're a dad, and you got the wife and the house and the think about that, folks. 2 to 3 hours every single day for the last month, just on top of everything else that's going on. I can't wait to watch this. This video is going to be what, like an hour and a half long or something?
I'm going to try to keep it close to an hour. I got Halloween down to an hour. I like that. I want to try to keep it that way. I made the kills in Friday the 13th are very quick. Most of them very luckily. So a lot of the clips are just him jumping down and then it goes to the next one.
Right, right.
So yeah, I'm going to try to keep it close to an hour.
I am so curious to know what your number one kill is of all time.
It might surprise some people. It's not one that usually ends up on lists, and it's surprising that it's not.
Fair enough. Now, do you have an ETA of when that video will be live?
I probably have another hour of work to do on it, and then I'm going to render it, which will take about an hour, and then I'll upload it, which will take about an hour. So I would say sometime around dinner time, keep an eye out for it, because I'm going to let it sit unlisted, make sure that there's no copyright claims, make sure they're not going to whine and bitch about, oh, you said kill too many times. Right. So I'm dinner time tonight. So 5-6 hours from now, keep your eyes peeled.
Okay, keep your eyes peeled for that. And folks, tonight, reminder, at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, Tony, Michael, and I are doing our Two Dudes and Some Bullshit episode 60. Hard to believe we're already up to 60. We are watching Friday the 13th Part 2 tonight live. So if you guys have that and you have it on DVD or Blu-ray or digital or the wood-burning copy or whatever, and you want to watch along with us, that is at 8 o'clock p.m. tonight. Normally we do our show on Monday nights, but of course this today is Friday the 13th, and we wanted to do a special Friday the 13th show. So that's 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Make sure you tune in for that. Cody, my man, you've been great. I love what you do, and we will have you on soon.
Yeah.
Again. All righty, folks. I'm out of here. See you later. Cheers.